Proud of you, son. My father said it to Tyler, not to me. Never me. I stood there in row 3 of the Fort Bragg Officers Club, 250 witnesses around me, cameras rolling, watching General Marcus Bennett pin the Distinguished Service Medal onto the chest of a man who'd never heard a shot fired in anger. The medal caught the chandelier light, brass star, beautiful, built entirely on lies. Tyler smiled, humble, grateful, like he deserved it. Like 4 years filing paperwork in a climate-controlled office in Germany somehow equaled my 12 years bleeding in Afghanistan. Like fraud was achievement. My father pulled him into a hug, an actual hug. Arms around shoulders, back pat. Everything I'd spent 34 years trying to earn, given freely to Tyler in 4. 250 people applauded, standing ovation. For stolen valor, for pretty lies, for the favorite son. I sat, couldn't stand, couldn't clap, could only feel the envelope burning in my pocket. 5 days I'd carried this weight. 5 days waiting for exactly this moment. Not the medal ceremony moment, the humiliation moment. Because that's how it works, isn't it? Before justice comes degradation. Before truth comes shame. Before you burn everything down, you have to watch them celebrate on the ashes of your sacrifice. Major Chen beside me whispered, "Alex, you okay?" I wasn't okay. I was 34 years of trying to earn love from a man incapable of giving it. I was that 8-year-old watching mom drive away saying, "You're strong, you'll be fine." I was that 21-year-old getting 3 polite claps at graduation, while Tyler got a standing ovation for barely passing. I was 12 years of combat. 3 bronze stars, Purple Heart, shrapnel still lodged in my shoulder that aches when it rains. I was invisible. But not for long. Tyler took the microphone. "Thank you, Dad. This is incredible. I know I'm not the most decorated officer in this family." He gestured toward me. "My sister, Lieutenant Colonel Rodriguez. She's the real hero. Purple Heart, bronze stars, actual combat. Every eye turned, cameras swinging, spotlight on me. I'm just trying to measure up to officers like her." She's seen real action. Real danger. I'm just trying to contribute in my own small way. Big smile, self-deprecating. Perfect. Can't all be heroes. Applause. Bigger than before. Everyone loved it. Humble Tyler acknowledging his combat veteran sister. What they didn't know, Tyler was never in combat. Never in danger. Never anywhere near Afghanistan despite what his medal nomination claimed. And I had proof. Behind me, a woman whispered, "That's so sweet. He's so thoughtful." Another voice, male, really shows character. They pitied me while praising him. Perfect trap. I couldn't object without looking jealous. Couldn't speak without seeming bitter. He'd stolen my valor and made himself look generous doing it. My hand found the envelope. Paper warm from 5 days against my body. Edges sharp. I pressed until they cut through fabric into palm. Small pain. Grounding. More applause. Tyler shaking hands. Officers congratulating. My father beaming. Patricia crying happy tears. And me, sitting in row 3, invisible again, holding evidence that would burn it all down. Tyler caught my eye, smiled, like we were sharing a moment, like he expected me to be happy for him. That's when something inside me cracked. Not broke, cracked. Like ice on a lake when temperature drops, thin fracture spreading. I stood up. Not planned, not controlled, just stood. While everyone else was settling back into their seats after the ovation, I stood. Major Chen grabbed my arm. "Alex, don't." I pulled free, started walking, down the aisle. Boots clicking on polished wood, each step loud in the post-applause silence. Conversation stopped. Heads turned, whispers started. Tyler's smile faltered. My father's eyes narrowed. That look. The one I'd seen 1,000 times. "Control yourself, Captain." Too late. I reached the podium, stepped up, stood between Tyler and my father, faced 250 witnesses, faced the cameras, faced everyone who'd just watched me be erased. I pulled out the envelope. White paper, DOD seal visible. General Bennett. My voice came out steady, cold. The microphone caught every word. "I apologize for interrupting, but there's something these people need to know about this medal." I held the envelope higher. About who's wearing it, and what it's really based on. Silence. Dead. Absolute. And then I smiled. Not a friendly smile. The kind of smile that says, "You humiliated me publicly. Now I return the favor." Let me tell you about my stepbrother's distinguished service in Kandahar, Afghanistan. Tyler's face went white. Specifically, the service that never happened. But before that podium, before the envelope, before I stood up and ended my father's career in front of 250 witnesses, you need to understand why. This didn't start at the ceremony. Didn't start when I found the fake records. Didn't even start when Tyler joined the family. This started when I was 8 years old, standing in our driveway watching Mom's car disappear down the street. Learning that love is something you earn, not something you get. Mom left on a Tuesday. Ordinary Tuesday. No warning. I woke up, she was packing. "I can't do this anymore, Alex." Being married to the army. Being second to everything. I'm done. "What about me?" She knelt down, touched my face. Hands soft, warm. Last time anyone touched me like that. "Baby, you're strong. Stronger than me. You'll be fine with your dad." "When will you visit?" Pause. Too long. "We'll see, sweetheart." We didn't see. She never called. Birthday cards stopped after year 1. By year 2, even Christmas cards stopped. She erased me like I was a mission she'd completed, filed away, moved on. Dad came home 2 months later, found me staying with the neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez. He didn't ask about Mom, didn't explain, didn't comfort, just said, "You're a Bennett now." Bennetts don't cry. Bennetts complete the mission. I was 8. The mission was, stop missing your mother. I completed it. By age 10, I stopped asking. By 12, I stopped thinking about her. By 14, her face blurred in memory. Dad called it resilience, said I had Bennett steel. What he didn't see? I learned that love is conditional, temporary, something that leaves when you're not strong enough to keep it. So I became strong, stronger than any 8-year-old should be. Straight A's, JROTC VP 4 years. Varsity track, state champion, student body VP. Early West Point acceptance, turned down for direct OCS. Because it was faster to commission, faster to prove my worth. Everything perfect. Everything Dad would approve. And he did approve. By not disapproving. That was the Bennett love language. Absence of criticism. Fast forward. Age 21. OCS graduation, Fort Benning, Georgia. I stood on that stage with brand new second lieutenant bars, uniform perfect, shoes mirror shined. 250 graduates, 250 families cheering. Dad sat front row. Brigadier General Marcus Bennett, 1 star. When my name was called, he clapped, 3 times, precise, measured, like approving paperwork. After the ceremony, families swarmed their graduates. Hugs, tears, proud parents crushing proud children. Dad shook my hand. Firm grip, 2 pumps. You passed. Not, I'm proud. Not, well done. Just, you passed. Like I'd met the minimum requirement. Thank you, sir. He checked his watch. I have a briefing at 1500. Drive safe. Turned, walked away. Didn't look back. I stood there with fresh lieutenant bars and empty hands, watching him leave. Again. Beside me, another family. Mom sobbing, Dad beaming, little sister jumping. We're so proud of you. Normal families. Warm families. Not mine. Then came the phone call. 2 weeks post-graduation. 0200 hours. Dad's voice sharp through the line. Alex, I'm getting remarried. Woman named Patricia Chen. Has a son, Tyler, 20 years old. They're moving to base housing next month. Not, what do you think? Not, I'd like you to meet her. Just facts. Orders. Yes, sir. Congratulations. Tyler's joining the Army. I'm recommending him for OCS. You'll help him prepare. Something cold settled in my chest. He wants to join? Bennett men serve. He'll be Tyler Marcus Bennett. I'm adopting him. Not stepbrother. Son. Legal son. Like biology could be overwritten with a signature. Understood, sir. 4th of July barbecue, Fort Hood, 1300 hours. Don't be late. 4th of July came. I wore a sundress, polite smile, officer bearing. Arrived 12:45, 15 minutes early. Bennett standard even when meeting your replacement family. Patricia saw me first. Warm face, laugh lines, opened her arms. Alex! Marcus has told me so much. I stepped back, extended my hand, professional. Mrs. Bennett. Pleasure to meet you. Her smile faltered. She looked at Dad. Dad nodded approval. Alex maintains appropriate boundaries. Good military bearing. Approval. For being cold. For not hugging. For keeping distance. Then Tyler, 20 years old, jeans, polo untucked, sneakers. Soft civilian hands, easy smile. Hey! Alex, right? Dad talks about you all the time. Says you're a total badass lieutenant. Dad. He called my father Dad after 4 months. Took me 21 years to even think the word proud in connection with my father. Lieutenant Rodriguez, I corrected, voice professional. On base, we use rank. Tyler laughed. Thought I was joking. Dad smiled, warm, real. Tyler's still learning. Be patient with him. Patient. When I was Tyler's age, Dad had me running 5 miles every dawn, memorizing rank structure, practicing salutes until form was perfect. 0 tolerance for weakness. Tyler got patience. I got, Bennett's don't make excuses. That barbecue, I watched Dad with Tyler. Watched him explain military customs gently, patiently. Watched him laugh at Tyler's jokes, arm around his shoulder, introducing him. This is Tyler, my son. Gonna be an officer. My son. Like I didn't exist. 18 months later, Tyler's OCS graduation. I was there, between deployments. Dad sat front row, same seat as my graduation, but completely different. This time, camera, signs, actual cheering. When Tyler's name was called, barely passed, needed 3 attempts at land navigation, got counseled twice for attitude. Dad stood. Full standing ovation. Applauded loud. Real. When my name was called 2 years earlier, top of class, distinguished graduate, Dad gave 3 claps. Seated. Clinical. After the ceremony, photos. Dad's arm around Tyler, pulling him close. Proud of you, son. Loud, clear. Cameras caught it. I stood 3 feet away. Photographer said, "Lieutenant Rodriguez, join them?" I stepped closer. Dad's arm stayed on Tyler, didn't extend to me. The photo shows it clearly. General Bennett, Tyler pressed against him grinning, Alex 3 inches apart. Might as well have been 3 miles. That photo is still on Dad's desk, in a frame. Tyler's graduation, his son, his pride. I'm cropped out in most versions. After that, the pattern was clear. I deployed to Kandahar, 12 months combat, real firefights, carried a wounded teammate 3 miles under fire, took shrapnel to the shoulder, saving 2 soldiers. Purple Heart, Bronze Star. Dad's response when I showed him the medals, "Good work, Captain." Like I'd filed paperwork correctly. Tyler that same year? Fort Hood, training unit, stateside, safe. Dad visited every month. Father-son fishing trips, barbecues, quality time. Visited me? Once. Hospital after shrapnel surgery. 90 minutes. Stood at the foot of my bed. Injuries aren't an excuse for falling behind on PT. Recovery starts tomorrow. No, glad you're alive. No, I was worried. Just mission parameters. That's when I fully understood. I could earn every medal, complete every mission, bleed in every desert. Dad would never see me the way he saw Tyler. Because Tyler gave him something I couldn't. Choice. Dad chose Tyler. Wanted Tyler. Adopted Tyler voluntarily. Me? He got stuck with. Biology's accident. Mom's abandoned project. Obligation fulfilled with military precision. Feed, house, train, deploy. Mission complete. Tyler was his son. I was just a soldier under his command. 5 more years. 5 more deployments. Mosul, Fallujah, Syria, back to Kandahar. Each time harder. Each time coming home to find Tyler's career advancing despite doing less. Tyler made captain. Dad threw a party. Entire officer corps invited. Speech about his proud father moment. I made captain 3 years earlier after carrying classified intel through enemy territory. Email. Congratulations on promotion. Don't let it go to your head. Tyler got logistics coordinator position. Comfortable desk job, Stuttgart, Germany. NATO liaison? Dad called it a critical strategic role. I got 4th combat deployment orders. Bennett tradition. Service requires sacrifice. Then came November 2022. Home between deployments. Dad retiring soon. I got assigned to help plan his retirement ceremony. You're detail-oriented, Alex. Need someone I can trust. First time Dad used the word trust in years. I said yes. Of course I said yes. One last mission. One last chance to prove my worth. The job was simple. Coordinate ceremony, compile service records, submit medal nominations.
Standard stuff.
Dad submitted one nomination. Distinguished Service Medal for Outstanding Officer Who Exemplifies the Bennett Legacy. Didn't say who. I assumed me. 12 years, 5 deployments, combat record. Only logical choice. I was wrong. 3 weeks before the ceremony, I was processing paperwork in Dad's office. He was out at a meeting. I saw a folder on his desk. DSM nomination, Tyler M. Bennett. I opened it. Shouldn't have. Couldn't stop myself. Tyler's service record, awards, assignments. And there, on page 3, Kandahar, Afghanistan, 2019 to 2020. Combat Zone Deployment, Infantry Support Operations. I stared at that line, read it 5 times. Because I was in Kandahar 2019 to 2020. 4th deployment. I knew every unit, every officer, every mission. Tyler was never there. I called G1, personnel records. Yes, ma'am, checking. Captain Tyler Bennett, Stuttgart, Germany, entire 2019 to 2020 period. NATO training mission. No deployment to Afghanistan. I hung up. Sat at Dad's desk. Folder open. Lie printed official. Dad's signature at the bottom. General Marcus Bennett, certifying accuracy. Lying for his son. I could have filed a report immediately. Should have. Fraud, stolen valor, court-martial offense. But I didn't. Because if I filed quietly, it goes through channels, gets buried. Dad has friends. Tyler gets a reprimand, maybe. Story dies. Bennett name protected. Number. If I'm burning this bridge, everyone watches it burn. Public ceremony. 250 witnesses. Cameras. Press. Dad pins medal on a liar while the daughter who bled watches. Then the daughter presents proof. Then everyone knows. Not revenge, justice. Visible, undeniable, permanent. So I printed the records, DoD authentication, sealed the envelope, carried it everywhere. The weight became constant, a reminder that 13 years of trying to earn love from a man incapable of giving it was about to end. One way or another. 1,300 hours. Guests started arriving. I stood in the back corner, watching everything unfold. Patricia entered first. Silk dress, pearls, everything perfect. Behind her came Tyler in service dress blues. New uniform. Fit was good, but worn wrong. Jacket buttoned incorrectly. Ribbon rack slightly off-center. Cover at the wrong angle. Small things. Things only a military eye catches. Things Dad would have destroyed me for at 23. Things Tyler got away with because he was chosen. Officers greeted him warmly. Big day, Captain Bennett. Handshakes, smiles. He glowed, soaking it all in. Pride for something he hadn't earned. I watched from the shadows. My dress blues were perfect. Every ribbon exact. Bronze stars gleaming, Purple Heart, combat infantry badge. 12 years of proof sitting right there on my chest, completely invisible. Colonel Martinez approached me. Lieutenant Colonel Rodriguez, hell of a day for your family. Hell of a day, sir. Both Bennett children as officers. Your father must be proud. He gestured at my ribbons. That's an impressive combat record. The real deal. Thank you, sir. Here to support Tyler? I touched the envelope in my pocket. I'm here to support the truth, sir. He didn't catch the weight behind those words, just smiled and moved on. 13:45, 15 minutes before ceremony start. Patricia found me, pulled me into the hallway. Empty. Just us and the smell of furniture polish and everything about to break. Alex, honey. She took both my hands, soft civilian hands. I need you to understand something. Your father is so incredibly proud of Tyler today. This medal means everything to him. To Tyler, you mean? Well, yes, but Alex. She squeezed my hands. You've always been so independent, so strong. You don't need external validation the way Tyler does. He's still finding himself. This recognition will help him grow. I stared at her. She actually believed this, genuinely believed Tyler needed the medal more than the person who'd earned it. You understand, right? Her voice got softer. You've already had your medals. Your recognition. Tyler deserves his moment too. My medals. Like bronze stars were participation trophies. Like my Purple Heart was a gold star sticker. Of course, I said, voice flat. I understand perfectly. Relief washed over her face. I knew you would. You're such a good sister. Your father is going to be so pleased you're being mature about this. Mature. Code for silent. She hugged me. I stood rigid. Let her think everything was fine. When she walked away, heels clicking on tile, I stood alone in that hallway with my hand on the envelope. Soon, I thought. Very soon she'll understand what mature actually costs. 13:55. I took my seat. Row 3, aisle side. Major Chen sat beside me. You good? Perfect. 2 rows ahead, I heard Colonel Patterson talking to Colonel Morrison. They didn't realize I could hear. Patterson said, You see the medal recipient, the son? Tyler Bennett, logistics officer, 4 years in. 4 years. Desk job. Distinguished Service Medal. Patterson shook his head. Meanwhile, the daughter's sitting back there. Rodriguez, 12 years combat. 3 bronze stars. Purple Heart. Morrison glanced back, saw me, looked away fast. That's just how it goes. Poor kid. That's gotta sting. Poor kid. Those words hit like shrapnel. Everyone saw it. Everyone knew. Everyone was sitting here feeling sorry for the pathetic daughter watching her father choose someone else. The pity was worse than if they'd just ignored me. Major Chen touched my arm. Alex, I'm fine. You're shaking. I looked down, hands clenched in my lap, white knuckles, trembling. I forced them still, pressed the envelope between my palms until the edges cut. 1400 exactly. Ceremony began, lights dimmed. Colonel Williams stepped to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, we gather today to celebrate the distinguished 32-year career of Lieutenant General Marcus Bennett. The speech detailed Dad's service. Every assignment, every award, every command. Building the narrative, great officer, great leader, great man. No mention of the 8-year-old left with neighbors. No mention of the wife who couldn't handle being an army widow. No mention of the daughter who spent her life earning 3-clap approval. Just the achievements, just the glory, just General Bennett. Then the pivot. As General Bennett prepares for retirement, he has chosen to present the Distinguished Service Medal to the officer who best embodies the Bennett legacy of leadership, sacrifice, and dedication. My chest tightened. Every eye turned toward the podium, cameras focused. This was the moment. Captain Tyler Marcus Bennett, please come forward. Applause exploded. Not polite ceremony clapping, Real applause. People stood. Standing ovation for Tyler. 4 years. Desk job. 0 sacrifice. Standing ovation. I sat. Physically couldn't stand. Couldn't clap. Could barely breathe while 250 people around me rose and applauded fraud. Major Chen stood, looked down at me. Alex? I shook my head, stayed seated. She hesitated, then sat back down. Just 2 officers sitting while the entire room stood. Conspicuous. Making a statement. Tyler walked to the podium. Confident stride. Huge smile. 0 doubt. Of course there wasn't doubt. He genuinely believed this medal was his. Believed 4 years of paperwork equaled 12 years of bleeding. Dad stood at the podium, opened the medal case. That brass star caught the chandelier light. Beautiful. Shining. Built on lies. But before pinning it, Dad took the microphone. My stomach dropped. He was going to make a speech. I want to say something about this young man. His voice filled the room. Command voice. General voice. Throughout my career, I've observed many types of officers. Some chase glory. They chase medals and recognition. His eyes flickered toward me. Brief, but I caught it. Others serve quietly, humbly, without seeking the spotlight, without demanding attention. Back to Tyler. Tyler represents that type. He doesn't chase recognition. He simply serves. Dependably, professionally, with quiet dignity. Every word was a knife. The implication screamed through that room. Unlike your daughter who chases glory, Tyler is better because he's humble. And 250 people just absorbed it. Nodded. Agreed. Dad had publicly characterized my 12 years in combat as attention-seeking. Made Tyler's fraud sound noble. Made my sacrifice sound selfish. The applause came again. Warm. Appreciative. They loved this narrative. I sat frozen with that envelope burning in my pocket. 5 more minutes. Just 5 more minutes of this humiliation. Then everyone would see. Dad pinned the medal, stepped back, saluted. Tyler returned it with slightly wrong form. Then Dad pulled him into a hug. Real hug. Arms tight. Back pat. Love visible to everyone. Cameras flashed, Patricia cried. Perfect family moment. Dad's lips moved. Microphone didn't catch it, but I could read them. 34 years of practice. Proud of you, son. Always have been. Always will be. Always. Tyler, 6 years in the family. Always. Me, 34 years. Never heard it once. Something inside me shattered. Not cracked. Shattered. Like glass under pressure. Tyler took the microphone. Thank you, Dad. This is incredible. I know I'm not the most decorated officer in this family. Here it came. My sister, Lieutenant Colonel Rodriguez. She's the real hero. Gesture toward me. Every eye turned. Every camera swung. Purple Heart. Bronze Stars. Actual combat. Real sacrifice. Applause. For me. But the wrong kind. Pity applause. I'm just trying to measure up to officers like her. Like Dad. She's seen actual war. I've just tried to contribute where I can. Big smile. Humble. Perfect. Can't all be heroes. More applause. Bigger. Everyone loved it. So gracious. So humble. Behind me, whispers. So sweet how he mentions her. Really shows character. Poor girl, though. They pitied me while praising him. He'd stolen my valor, made himself look generous, and positioned me as jealous if I objected. Perfect manipulation. More officers approaching the podium, congratulating Tyler, congratulating Dad. Bennett legacy celebrated. Cameras recording, press writing headlines. I sat with my hand on the envelope, pressed until edges cut through jacket into skin. Major Chen leaned close. Alex, your face. Control it. People are watching. I couldn't control it anymore. 34 years of control, done. I stood up. Not planned, just stood. While everyone else was settling back after the ovation, I stood. Major Chen grabbed my arm. Alex, don't. I pulled free, started walking, down the aisle, boots clicking, each step echoing. Conversations stopped. Heads turned. Whispers spread like wildfire. Tyler's smile died. Dad's eyes narrowed. That look. Control yourself, Captain. Too late. I reached the podium, stepped up, stood between them, faced 250 witnesses, faced the cameras, pulled out the envelope, white paper, DOD seal visible. General Bennett, voice steady, cold. Microphone caught everything. I apologize for interrupting, but there's something these people need to know about this medal. Held the envelope higher. About who's wearing it, and what it's based on. Silence. Dead. Absolute. I smiled. Not friendly. The kind that says, you humiliated me publicly. Now I return the favor. Let me tell you about my stepbrother's distinguished service in Kandahar, Afghanistan. Specifically, the service that never happened. The silence that followed was the kind you feel in your bones. 250 people stopped breathing at exactly the same time. Tyler took a step backward. His hand went to the metal on his chest, like it had suddenly become radioactive. Dad didn't move at all, didn't even blink. 32 years of command presence fighting against public exposure in real time. I opened the envelope. The sound of paper rustling was loud enough to hear in the back row. I pulled out the documents. Official, time-stamped, Department of Defense seal on every page. These are authenticated personnel records, I said. My voice carried through that dead silent room. Obtained through proper channels, verified by G1, cross-referenced with unit deployment rosters. I held up the first page, turned it toward the audience so the cameras could see. Captain Tyler Bennett's medal nomination states, and I quote, deployed to Kandahar, Afghanistan 2019 through 2020. Combat zone operations. Infantry support. Dangerous conditions. Distinguished service under fire. I paused. Let that sink in. That's the official justification for this medal. That deployment. That combat service. Tyler's face had gone from white to gray. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. I held up the second document. This is Captain Bennett's actual personnel record. Authenticated. Official. From the same time period. Another pause. Assignment, Stuttgart, Germany. NATO training mission. No deployment orders. No combat zone assignment. No movement outside Germany for the entire 24-month period in question. Gasps rippled through the room. Sharp, multiple. Officers leaning forward in their seats. I was in Kandahar during that deployment, I continued. Voice steady, but something hot building in my chest. 4th Infantry Division. Combat Operations. I knew every unit on that base. Every officer, every support element. I looked directly at Tyler. You were never there. Alex, I can explain, Tyler started. Explain what? I cut him off. Explain how you were in 2 places at once. Explain how you earned a combat medal while processing NATO training schedules in an air-conditioned office. Movement in the 3rd row. Someone standing up. I glanced over. Sergeant First Class Williams. Barrel-chested, gray at the temples. Combat infantry badge on his chest. Ma'am. His voice carried. Rough. Texas accent. Sergeant Williams, 4th Infantry, 2019 Kandahar deployment. He looked around the room. I served under then Major Rodriguez. Pulled security for her command element for 8 months. He turned toward Tyler. I was there the entire deployment. Every patrol, every mission. Pause. Heavy. Final. Captain Bennett was never at that base. Not once. I would have seen him. We all would have seen him. Another officer stood, female, captain's bars. Captain Sarah Chen. I was admin at Stuttgart during that period. She looked right at Tyler. I processed your travel vouchers, your leave requests, your quarterly reports. You were at that desk every day. You never deployed anywhere. More movement. Like dominoes falling. Another officer standing, then another. Staff Sergeant Martinez, NATO training mission. Can confirm Captain Bennett was assigned to our office full-time. Lieutenant Colonel Hayes, 4th Infantry, was in Kandahar the entire 2019 deployment. Never saw Captain Bennett. Major Robinson, G1 personnel. Those records are authentic. I verified them myself this morning after Lieutenant Colonel Rodriguez made the formal request. The room erupted. Not applause. Chaos. Voices overlapping. Officers on their feet. Cameras swinging wildly. Press shouting questions. The careful ceremony order completely shattered. Dad finally moved, stepped toward the microphone. That's enough. Everyone, please. No, sir. Colonel Morrison stood up. Senior officer in the room besides Dad. Former division commander, respect carved into every line of his face. General Bennett, with all due respect, I think we need to hear this. Morrison turned to me. Lieutenant Colonel Rodriguez, you're stating for the record, in front of witnesses and media, that Captain Bennett's medal nomination contains false information? Yes, sir. Demonstrably false. And you have documentation to support this claim? I held up the papers. Complete personnel records, sir. Assignment histories. Deployment orders. Or in Captain Bennett's case, the complete absence of deployment orders. All authenticated by G1. All showing Captain Bennett was stationed in Germany while his medal nomination claims he was in Afghanistan. Morrison's jaw tightened. He looked at Dad. General Bennett, did you personally submit this nomination? The silence that followed felt like falling. Dad's face was stone, but I could see it. The micro-expressions I'd learned to read over 34 years. Fear. Rage. Calculation. I submitted the nomination, he said finally. Based on information provided, you signed it. My voice cut through. Your signature is on the bottom of that form, sir. Right below the statement that says, I certify the accuracy of the information contained herein. Your signature, your certification, your responsibility. Something shifted in the room, like air pressure changing before a storm. Officers who'd been leaning toward Dad started leaning away. Subtle, but I felt it. Patricia stood from the front row. This is ridiculous. Tyler didn't write the nomination, ma'am. I kept my eyes on Dad. He didn't submit it. He didn't certify it, but he accepted a medal based on it. And he stood up here and gave a speech about humility while wearing recognition for something he never did. I finally looked at Tyler. He was crying now. Silent tears. The medal on his chest catching the light. Still pinned there. Still gleaming. Still a lie. Did you know? I asked him directly. When you read that nomination, when you saw Kandahar deployment, did you know it was false? Tyler's mouth opened and closed. I thought, Dad said it was a mistake in the paperwork. He said it didn't matter because I'd supported combat operations from Stuttgart. He said it was just a technicality. He lied. My voice was quiet now, deadly. And you let him. Because it was easier than telling the truth. I didn't want to take anything from you, Tyler said, voice cracking. I never wanted, but you did take it. I gestured at the medal. You took it. You wore it. You gave a speech about how humble you are while wearing my valor on your chest. The room was silent again. Everyone watching this moment, this breakdown. This truth finally cracking through years of buried lies. Base commander stood up, Colonel Jackson, 3 stars. He'd been sitting quietly in the back. Now he walked forward, face carved from granite. General Bennett. Voice, formal, cold. My office. Immediately following this event. Colonel, this is a misunderstanding. Is it? Jackson's voice got harder. Because what I'm hearing is that you submitted a medal nomination containing false deployment information. That's not a misunderstanding, General. That's fraud. That's a violation of Article 107, false official statements. He turned to Tyler. Captain Bennett, remove that medal. Right now. Tyler's hands shook as he reached up, fumbled with the pin. It took him 3 tries to get it off. When he finally held it in his palm, it looked heavy, like it weighed more than brass should weigh. Place it on the table, Jackson ordered. Tyler set it down on the podium. The small clink of metal on wood echoed through the silent room. That sound felt final, like a coffin closing. Jackson turned to the audience. This ceremony is concluded. Media, you have your story. Officers, dismissed. General Bennett, my office in 30 minutes. People started standing, but they weren't leaving. They were moving, shifting, reorganizing themselves in the room. And then someone started clapping. Slow clap, deliberate, from the back of the room. I looked. Sergeant First Class Williams, standing there. Clapping, looking right at me. Then Captain Chen joined. Then another officer. Then another. The applause spread like wildfire. Not polite ceremony applause. This was different. Harder. More real. The sound of people who'd watched injustice and were relieved to see it called out. More officers stood. The applause got louder, faster. Colonel Morrison stepped forward. Lieutenant Colonel Rodriguez. His voice carried over the applause. On behalf of every officer in this room who's actually deployed, who's actually served in combat zones, who's actually earned their recognition through blood and sacrifice. He started clapping too. Hard. Deliberate. The whole room was standing now, all of them. Even the ones who'd been skeptical. Even the ones who'd probably thought I was crazy for speaking up. All standing, all clapping, for me. Sergeant Williams's voice boomed out. "Officer on deck!" The applause stopped instantly. Every veteran in that room snapped to attention. 40, maybe 50 of them. All at once. Perfect synchronization. And then they saluted. Not because of my rank. Not because of protocol. Because of respect. Because of recognition. Because of shared experience that Tyler would never understand, and Dad had tried to devalue. I stood there, on that podium, with tears burning in my eyes, and 40 veterans saluting me, and Dad standing 3 feet away, watching his legacy crumble in real time. This was the moment. Not the medal I'd never gotten, not the approval I'd never earned. This. Veterans who'd been there, who knew, who understood, choosing to stand with me. I returned the salute, sharp, crisp, perfect form. When I dropped my hand, I looked at Dad. Really looked. He'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. The general's mask was cracking, showing the man underneath. Smaller. Weaker. Scared. "I didn't do this for revenge," I said quietly. Just to him. Microphone didn't catch it. "I did this because silence enables injustice. Because stolen valor matters. Because truth matters." I paused. "You taught me that, sir. Honor above all. Integrity. Service. Truth." I picked up the medal from the table, held it, felt the weight. "You just forgot to live it." I set the medal down in front of him, turned, walked off that podium, boots clicking, head high. The applause started again, following me down the aisle, growing louder with each step. Major Chen fell into step beside me. "Hell of a way to burn a bridge, Rodriguez." "Wasn't a bridge," I said. "Bridges go both ways." That was just a wall I kept running into. Behind us, I heard Dad's voice, trying to regain control. "If everyone would please." But nobody was listening anymore. The room was already emptying. Officers filing out, press swarming, cameras catching every angle. I walked out into the Texas sun. Heat hit my face like a wall. I stopped, closed my eyes, breathed. It was over. Not just the ceremony, not just the confrontation, the whole thing. 34 years of trying to earn love from someone who couldn't give it. It was over. Sergeant Williams came out behind me, walked up, extended his hand. "Ma'am, that took guts. Real guts." I shook his hand. "Just took too long to find them, Sergeant." "Nah," he smiled, tired smile, seen too much smile. "You found them exactly when you needed them. That's what matters." More officers filed out. Some nodded as they passed. Some said quiet, "Well done," or "That took courage." Some just looked, but they saw me, really saw me. My phone buzzed. Text from Colonel Morrison. Rodriguez, my office, tomorrow, 0900. We need to talk about your next assignment. Someone with your integrity should be training the next generation. Interested? I stared at that text. Next assignment. Next chapter. Next mission. Not trying to earn approval anymore, just doing the work. Being the officer I'd always been. I texted back. Yes, sir. Thank you. Put the phone away. Looked back at the officers' club. Dad was probably still in there. Tyler, too. Both facing consequences. I felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction. Not triumph. Sadness. Because it shouldn't have come to this. Should have just required a father who could see his daughter. Should have just required truth. But that wasn't the family I got. So I changed what I could. By walking away. By telling truth. By choosing justice over comfort. Was it worth it? I looked down at my chest. At the real medals. Bronze stars. Purple Heart. Combat Infantry Badge. Yeah, it was worth it. Not because I destroyed Dad's legacy, because I finally stopped letting his opinion destroy mine. The story hit the news within an hour. Not the sanitized military press release version. The real version. Decorated combat veteran exposes father's fraud at retirement ceremony. Video footage from every angle. My voice on that microphone. Tyler's face going white. Veterans standing to salute. All of it. By evening, it had gone viral. 3 million views. 5 million. 10 million. The comments became a war zone. Some called me a hero. Some called me a traitor who destroyed her own father. Some said I should have handled it quietly. Some said I waited too long. I didn't read them. The only opinions that mattered had already been delivered in person by people who'd actually served. 48 hours after the ceremony, I got called to Colonel Morrison's office. He sat behind his desk with my personnel file open. Rodriguez, sit. I sat. He looked at me for a long moment. You created quite a situation. Yes, sir. Base commander is launching a full investigation. Your father's retirement is on hold pending review. Tyler's under investigation for accepting fraudulent valor. Patricia filed for divorce. The Army Times won't stop calling. He paused. And somehow, you're at the center of the biggest military scandal this base has seen in 20 years. Yes, sir. How do you feel about that? I thought about it. Really thought. Tired, sir. But clear. For the first time in a long time, I feel clear. Morrison nodded slowly. Good answer. He closed my file. I'm recommending you for instructor position at Officer Candidate School. Fort Benning. Teaching leadership and ethics. I blinked. Sir? We need officers like you teaching the next generation. Officers who understand that integrity isn't just a word in the Army values. It's the foundation. He paused. Officers willing to do the hard right over the easy wrong, even when it costs everything. I didn't do it to get recognized, sir. I know. That's exactly why you're right for this. He slid papers across the desk. Orders are being cut. You report in 6 weeks. Gives you time to clear this base and figure out what's next. I picked up the papers. Read them. Fort Benning. Instructor. training the officers who'd lead soldiers 10 years from now, teaching them what Dad should have taught me, that honor matters more than image, that truth matters more than comfort. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. Teaching is harder than combat sometimes. He almost smiled. But you'll be good at it. 3 days later, I drove to El Paso to visit my grandmother, Rosa Rodriguez, the woman who'd actually raised me when Dad was deployed and Mom was gone. She lived in a small house with a garden she'd tended for 30 years. She opened the door, took one look at my face, and pulled me into a hug. Mija, I saw the news. The whole neighborhood saw. Come in. We sat at her kitchen table, the same table where I'd done homework as a kid, where she'd taught me to make tamales, where she'd told me stories about my grandfather who served in Vietnam and never came home. Your father called me, she said, pouring coffee into chipped mugs older than I was. He's very angry. Says you humiliated him. I exposed his fraud, Abuela. There's a difference. I know. She set the mug in front of me. I told him he should be proud of you, that you did what he taught you to do, stand for truth. What did he say? He hung up on me. Sad smile. Your father is a good soldier, but he forgot that being a good soldier means being a good man first. He got them backwards. I wrapped my hands around the coffee mug, felt the warmth. Did I do the right thing? Mija. She reached across and covered my hand with hers. You did the only thing, the hard thing, the thing that cost you family. But that's how you know it was right. Easy things don't require courage. It doesn't feel like courage. You didn't destroy anything that was real. You exposed what was false. She squeezed my hand. The people who matter, they see you now. The people who don't matter, they never would have seen you anyway. We sat in silence, drinking coffee, watching morning light through her kitchen window. I stayed 3 days, helped in the garden, fixed her sagging fence, painted window trim. Small things, physical things. Work that required hands, not thoughts. On the 3rd morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. Lieutenant Colonel Rodriguez. Ma'am, this is Sergeant Williams, from the ceremony. Sergeant, how can I help you? Just wanted to let you know. Group of us vets started a fund, for legal defense if you need it. Raised $23,000 in 48 hours. I stood up from the garden, brushed dirt off my hands. Sergeant, I appreciate that, but I don't need... It's not about need, ma'am. It's about standing with people who stand up. He paused. My daughter's going to OCS next year. When she found out you're teaching at Benning, she said that's where she wants to go. Says she wants to learn from someone who walks the walk. My throat got tight. I'll be honored to teach her, Sergeant. She'll be honored to learn from you, ma'am. After he hung up, I stood in Abuela's garden with dirt under my fingernails and tears on my face. Not sad tears. Something else. Something that felt like the opposite of the hollow ache I'd carried for 34 years. The investigation took 6 weeks. I gave testimony, provided documentation, answered every question from 3 different review boards. The conclusions were swift. Dad was allowed to retire, but without ceremony. No fanfare, no recognition. Just quiet, administrative separation. His reputation survived. Barely. But the stain would follow him. Everyone would know. Everyone would remember. Tyler faced Article 15, non-judicial punishment, reduction in rank to first lieutenant, forfeit of 2 months' pay. Letter of reprimand in his permanent file. The medal officially revoked. Removed from all records. He was allowed to remain in service, but his career was over. He'd never make major, never command, never be trusted with anything that mattered. Patricia divorced Dad and moved to California with Tyler. I heard she told people the whole family was toxic, that she should have seen it coming. Maybe she was right. 6 weeks after the ceremony, I packed my quarters at Fort Bragg. 12 years of deployments meant I traveled light. Uniforms, medals, books, photos. I found one photo I'd forgotten about. Me and Dad. I was 7. He was a captain. Some army event, his hand on my shoulder. Both of us looking at the camera, both smiling. Before everything got complicated. Before Tyler. Before I learned love had to be earned. I almost threw it away. Almost. But instead, I put it in an envelope and mailed it to him. No note, no message. Just the photo. Maybe he'd see it and remember. Maybe he'd see what we could have had. Or maybe he'd throw it away. Either way, it wasn't my burden to carry anymore. The drive from Fort Bragg to Fort Benning took 8 hours. I drove with windows down, radio playing, Texas sun hot on my arm. Free. I thought about Tyler, about how he'd looked with that medal in his shaking hands. Part of me felt sorry for him. He'd been trapped in Dad's lie, just like I'd been trapped in Dad's expectations. The difference was, I'd found my way out. I pulled into Fort Benning just as the sun was setting. Gate guard checked my ID, saw the orders, saluted sharp. "Welcome to Benning, ma'am. Glad to be here, soldier." I drove on to base, toward the OCS compound. Tomorrow I'd report for duty. Tomorrow I'd meet the officers I'd be training. Tomorrow I'd start teaching what honor actually means. But tonight, I parked overlooking the parade field, got out, stood there watching the last light fade from the sky. Somewhere in Texas, Dad was dealing with consequences. Somewhere in California, Tyler was learning that shortcuts have costs. Somewhere in El Paso, Abuela was tending her garden and probably praying for all of us. And I was here, starting over, building something new from the ashes. My phone buzzed. Text from Major Chen. "How's the new assignment?" I smiled, texted back. "It's good. It's right. I'm home." Because that's what I'd learned. Home isn't the people who share your blood. Home isn't the family you're born into. Home is where people see you for who you actually are and value it. Home is where your sacrifice matters. Home is where truth is honored instead of buried. Standing there on Fort Benning, watching stars come out over the parade field where thousands of officers had been trained before me and thousands more would be trained after, I finally understood. I was home. Not because I'd earned it through 12 years of bleeding. Not because I'd destroyed Dad's legacy. Not because 40 veterans saluted me. But because I'd finally stopped trying to be someone else's version of worthy and started being my own version of whole. The medal I never got didn't matter. The approval I never earned didn't matter. The love Dad couldn't give didn't matter. What mattered was standing on that podium with evidence in my hand and choosing truth over comfort. What mattered was 40 veterans who knew real service when they saw it. What mattered was Sergeant Williams's daughter wanting to learn from someone who walks the walk. What mattered was teaching the next generation that integrity isn't negotiable, that honor isn't inherited, that courage is doing the right thing even when everyone's watching and it costs everything. That's what I'd teach them. Not from a book, from scars and choices and 12 years of learning that real strength isn't never falling down. It's standing back up when everyone expects you to stay down. My phone buzzed again. Text from unknown number. Ma'am, this is Captain Davis, your new assistant at OCS. Welcome to Benning. We're honored to serve with you. I looked at that text for a long moment. Then I got back in my car and drove toward my new quarters, my new assignment, my new chapter. Behind me, Fort Bragg and everything it represented faded in the rearview mirror. Ahead of me, Fort Benning and all its possibility waited. And for the first time in 34 years, I wasn't driving toward someone else's approval. I was driving toward my own. So here's what I learned standing on that podium with my father's career burning down. The story you tell yourself about who you are can be a prison. For 34 years, I believed, if I'm good enough, he'll finally see me. That story kept me chasing something that was never available. My father wasn't evil. He genuinely believed Tyler needed him more, that I was already strong. He was wrong, but he believed he was right. That's the thing about family trauma. It's rarely about villains. It's about people with competing stories, and nobody stops to ask if their story is true. Here's the question that changed everything. What if the problem isn't that I'm not good enough? What if the problem is that I'm asking someone who can't give what I need? My father is incapable of seeing me the way I needed. Not because I'm unworthy, but because of his limitations. That's not a reflection of my value. That's a statement about his capacity. Once I understood that, everything shifted. I stopped trying to earn unearnable love. I stopped measuring my worth by someone else's inability to recognize it. And I found my real family. Sergeant Williams, who stood up for truth. My grandmother, who said, "You did the right thing." Those 40 veterans who saluted not my rank, but my courage. That's family. Not the people who share your DNA. The people who see you, value you, stand with you when it costs them something. So if you're trapped in your own version of this story, trying to earn love from someone who can't give it, here's what you need to understand. You're not the problem. The story is the problem. Your worth is inherent. It doesn't require external validation. The people who matter will see you without you having to prove anything. I didn't expose my father for revenge. I did it because silence was costing me my soul. Every day I stayed quiet, I was agreeing with his version of the story. Speaking up cost me my father, but it gave me back myself. The version who knows what I stand for, who knows my worth isn't for sale. Start today. Challenge one story you've been telling yourself. Set one boundary you've been afraid to set. Say one truth you've been afraid to speak. Honor isn't inherited. Truth isn't comfortable. But living in alignment with your own values, that's freedom. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you're tired of performing for people who will never see you, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe, because I'll be sharing more stories about finding courage when everything tells you to stay silent. Your story doesn't end where theirs begins. Your worth isn't determined by their limitations. Remember that.